This is Nick Nelson, the mad scientist of muscle, and what I've got for you today here is a review of a really innovative piece of equipment called monkey feet. Now, what this is designed to do is allow you to attach a dumbbell to the bottom of your foot. Just like a monkey foot that's able to grip on a branch, this setup allows you to grip onto a dumbbell. So it's similar in concept to an ankle weight in that it allows you to attach weight to your lower leg. However, ankle weights obviously loop around your ankle and are limited to the amount of weight you can get in an ankle weight. The monkey feet is designed to work with any dumbbell, and I've used this up to a 125-pound dumbbell, not for leg curls mind you, but for other exercises, which I'll also show you as well. But so the real key to the monkey feet piece of equipment is this clamping action. Now I'll do a close-up on here so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is what the unit looks like. So if you've used rollerblades before, you'll recognize this ratcheting system. So this is what allows you, I'll give you kind of a better view, to tighten up the monkey feet strap. So you're basically very solidly locked in, and then it just pops up. But like I said, I'll give you a close-up on an actual dumbbell clamping down on this. So you have this heel set up for your foot, kind of like a boot. Your foot goes in there with your heel. This part, as you can see, it's kind of like jaws. So when you put your foot in, you put the dumbbell handle in first, then you put your foot in, and that closes around the dumbbell handle. Then this piece goes in front of your shins. So I'm probably making it look more complicated than it actually is, but this piece is versatile in that it goes on either one of your feet. And when you're buying this, you only need one of these. You won't actually get two of these in a pair. Just one is all you need, because you're going to actually wanting to be standing on the other foot as you're using the monkey feet for single leg hamstring curls. You can't be doing that at the same time unless you're balancing or hanging. So, I mean, you can buy two if you want, but you really only necessarily need one. Now, I'm going to give you a close-up here on setting this up with an actual dumbbell. All right, so I've got a 20-pound dumbbell here. What I'm going to do to set this up, you open up the jaws, set it here, and then you just clamp right over top of the dumbbell. And now that's locked in. Then you set your foot right here, thread that through, and then you use the ratchet to tighten that up. As you can see, this is now firmly attached onto the bottom of my foot. Alright, so as you can see, I've got the monkey feet attached with a 20-pound dumbbell on here. Now, you can do this freestanding if you want to do freestanding leg curls, but I definitely recommend holding on to something at the very least for balance. Otherwise, you're not going to get a really good isolation action on the hamstring. So I just got a bar set in the rack. You can grab onto anything solid as you're doing this. And then you're just going to start here. If you're standing with your other foot on the floor, your knee is going to be slightly bent here at the start, and then curl up. Now, this is a really good analog to a lying leg curl machine. You're going to get a really strong contraction in your hamstrings, a very contraction-focused exercise. Not as much stretch on this one as, for example, if you're doing hip extension exercise like stiff-legged deadlift. But if you don't have access to a leg curl machine, this is a fantastic way to hit the knee flexion aspect of the hamstring with a very strong contraction. When you start getting into a heavier weight, it might feel a little bit awkward because it's different than the strength curve of a machine. So as you're doing this one, there's not a whole lot of resistance at the start. So in order to really get high enough to get a good strong contraction, you want to use a really powerful movement. So you're not going super slow. What you actually want to do is give it a good powerful contraction, which is what the hamstrings are really designed for in terms of fiber type makeup, primarily fast twitch. So keep that in mind when you're using these for leg curls. But if you do want to do slow movements, that's totally fine. You're just going to need to use a much lighter weight. So One key thing that I've discovered when using this, and it's basically a limitation of the size of your dumbbell that you're using, is the requirement that you have to start with that bent knee. Now, easily remedied. Set a step riser, set any sort of small platform, anything that's going to allow you to get your other foot a couple inches off the floor is going to allow you to start from that straight dead hang position, like so. And this, if you want to do it that way, you can also add in some glute movements by getting a swing. Which is going to more closely mimic the stride in a sprint, for example. So in that respect, it's actually a very appropriate way to do the monkey feet leg curl. All right, so what I'm going to show you here is the concentration leg curl version of the monkey feet leg curl. As you can see, I've got a bar in the rack braced up against here. Now, I'm going to have my thigh just above the knee braced against that bar as well. So what this is going to do, and I find it really a very versatile way to go, is allow you to push against here and get a really monster painful contraction on the hamstring. So combining this one with a stretch focused exercise, it's fantastic. It's like doing incline curls and concentration curls, but for your hamstrings. So you can keep your body vertical and get a really strong contraction that way, or you can even do like this, step over the bar, get a bit more of a stretch, and do it like that. So this kind of is more like a preacher curl angle for the hamstrings. And it changes where that peak contraction hits. So that's a very good option for this piece as well. Now, a lot of exercises you can do with this, and I'm going to run through a bunch here. Now, the monkey feet can be used not only for hamstring training, but it's also very effective for glute training as well. For example, you can use a glute donkey kickback with this dumbbell attached. Now, just so you know up front, when you're using it in that fashion, because the dumbbell is then resting on top, it does create a little bit more instability. So use a lighter weight than you think you're going to need for the start on this one. It's going to take a little bit of practice to get the angles right and get the actual movement right. And the increase in instability as you're doing this will be a bit of a challenge in and on its own. But doing it this way will be very effective for glute training, for getting that strong peak contraction at the top. So you're going to get in your hands and knees position like so, bend this knee up, and then kick back and up. As you can see, it does require some control. There is tilting as you're doing this. Now, this not only does work the glutes, it actually works the hamstrings very effectively as well because of the hip extension function of the hamstrings. Just like the glutes are doing hip extension, the hamstrings do it as well. And it does take a bit of practice. And so this is a 30-pound dumbbell to give you an idea of how much weight I'm using with it. All right, so what I'm going to do now here is run you through a few other exercises that I've come up with for the monkey feet, even beyond just like the regular leg curls and the glute kickbacks. So here's a few more, and these work hip flexors, these work quads. There's basically a lot of things you can do with it. There's even a good ab exercise that I'm going to show you here as well. right, so that's a good sample of what you can do with the monkey feet. Now, who is this piece of equipment for? This is primarily for, I would say, home gym trainers. You can definitely bring it to the gym and use it at the gym, however, because it's got a lot of applications just in general that you can use at any kind of facility. If you have access to a light curl machine, this may be something you don't really need to invest in. But if you've got a home gym with just dumbbells and you've been looking for a way to do knee flexion exercises, i.e. leg curls for your hamstrings, this is a fantastic way to go. You don't need a lot of weight for this. There's ways, even if you have really light dumbbells, there's ways you can make this harder, as I showed you, bracing the knee up against something and really getting that focused contraction. So bottom line, I would say this is definitely a good piece of equipment for the right purpose. In terms of quality, this is entirely solid molded plastic here. This, unless you really abuse the crap out of this, I don't see this one breaking very easily on you. The ratcheting mechanism on here, like I said, is very similar to what you would use with a roller blade. Excuse me. With the roller blade, it just ratchets in, fits nice and snugly on the front of your ankle, and it's not going to come loose. This really locks in place very, very solidly. Now, they do come in just a set of one, so if you're looking for something to do two legs at the same time, you will need to get a second one of these if you want to do it that way. It's not necessary though. Doing these single leg at a time is absolutely fine. So the only real downsides I could see on this is it's just going to take a little bit of practice, like I said, to get the idea of how this clamps on. I found when I first got it, it was fairly self-explanatory. You clamp in, and then you do have to kind of maneuver these pieces without letting this unclamp. So as I found, clamp it on the dumbbell first, then set your foot in. That keeps it in place as you're getting these other pieces arranged to lock it in on your foot. Once you get that down, then pretty much sky's the limit. Get it in position, get it on yourself right where you're about to do the exercise. It's very awkward to do and walk around with. These are not meant to be walked around with, so to speak. So you're not going to be doing an exercise here and then stomping around in this thing with the dumbbell on your foot. That's not going to be the best use of this one. So make sure you're in position right in the exercise, right where you're about to do the exercise, and that's going to give you the best results. And again, just pop the ratchet, undo it, and you're good to go. So it's very easy to get on and off once you get the hang of it. But that is the monkey feet, and this is definitely something for the right purpose that I would absolutely highly recommend.